funny, it looks wooden on the other side, but from this side it doesn't look so wooden.
Yeah.
But it's very green, it has a green roof and all, and it's a bike parking garage. But yeah, this is a smaller town, so much smaller in size.
Right. And so earlier, Mark, you were saying that this entire station is going to get completely redone,
Refurbished,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
So they built this in the early 90s,
Yeah.
but the design was from the late 80s.
Right.
And they let cars come very close to the central station, and they already said that we're not going to do that in this new version. So, yeah.
And earlier, you were describing to me that the reason why I wasn't able to use my QR code to check out getting off the train is because they're just using I guess the is it Bluetooth or the chip?
A chip.
The chip to check in and out.
Yes,
and
because, because getting over this is a public walkway. And it used to be a public walkway before the system of the gateways on the trains existed. And so the railways weren't allowed to close off this public walkway.
Yeah.
So they couldn't have these gates here.
Yeah.
So that's why they have only these poles where you check in, check out.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to check in, check out, you can just walk through here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the new station, they will make sure they have a public walkway next to the area that is closed off with the gates.
Right. Right. And then sort of like the public tunnel that we took when we rode our bikes through to get underneath the tracks. So they'll have something similar, a public walkway. So that,
but then because that's a dark tunnel, you don't want to walk.
Yeah, we
make
don't
everybody walk there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a bit awkward. Yeah. So although this stems from the 1990s, it's going to be completely replaced because it's not adequate anymore. Way too many travelers now for this station to handle all those people.
Right.
So it's getting crowded on the escalators.
Yeah.
You really have to wait your turn before you can get up.
Yeah.
So the whole platform is full of people waiting to get up. And it needs to be widened, it needs to be expanded here.
And we were just looking at the bike parking. There'll probably be a whole new bike parking garage too, I would imagine.
Of course, this is a temporary structure.
Yeah.
And I like that they made a green roof.
Yeah.
And also the sides, they make like flower pots on the side, which is really nice if they grow up, because there's a little raster there, but they can grow up these plants. That would be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they have 2 floors. For now, that's adequate, and then the new station will be here from 2030, they think.
Okay.
So that
basically 6 years away. Yeah.
It sounds so far away, but it isn't, right?
Yeah,
It's so close, really.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably going to be 3 or 4 years of construction at least.
At least, yeah. So they're making plans now. They're already doing public consultations. I already went to one such night.
Yeah.
And they already said that they won't make the mistakes of letting cars come so close to the station. Public taxis, okay, but not private cars.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
To know that we've passed that stage.
Yeah.
That cars should go everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you spend a lot of time, obviously, at the Utrecht station because you travel to Utrecht a couple times a week for work.
Yeah.
And so you can really appreciate the fact that that station has really transformed itself and really become, I think, one of the great examples of how to handle large numbers of people coming to the station by bike.
Yeah, and that was also a long operation because they started in 2007 and I think they opened it in 2014. So that was about 7 years of construction, and the shop stayed open. And the shop is big in Utrecht Central Station because that was really the center of the country where 5 lines merge together and people transfer all the time. And also it is an end destination because there's so much to do in Utrecht.
Yeah.
So this is much smaller and but still there's international trains leaving here. And you can go in 3 directions, 4 directions even from here. So it's still a major hub.
Yeah.
And we'll see how this goes, this transformation, but it will certainly take a few years. And they're already making plans now for 2030, so that's 6 years away indeed. Yeah, so it goes over the cycle path, so that's why it's closed now, the cycle path. Yeah, so we're at the back of the station. And this is the great courthouse.
Oh yeah.
Huge courthouse. All these buildings have parking garage underneath.
Right.
You can see it right here.
Oh yeah.
Go underneath, and there you have a parking garage.
And a surface parking lot. Wow. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I did
surprising.
show you that one, didn't I? Let's go there one moment. I'm not sure whether I showed it or not. The big parking garage with the pond on top of it.
You have a pond on top of your parking
pond
garage?
on top of the parking garage. So here's the entrance to the parking garage.
Okay.
And you can already see the fountains on top.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a huge parking garage.
And that is for the train station, the parking garage?
Oh, well, for the whole area here,
Yeah.
And then we go left, here. And then you can just hop on the stairs and you can see what's on top of the parking garage. I'll take my bike with me. We'll go that way. And this is the top of the parking garage.
Wow. Okay. So if you're going to have a parking garage, put a pond on
top of it. It's a
And
meter
then
deep.
You've got some really cool housing right here. So you have some apartments.
Yep.
All right.
Let's go that way. So we weren't here before.
And this little critter right here,
Yep.
he's having fun.
Still developing after all these years. We call this the Armada. And once we're on the end, you can see why.
Ah, okay.
And since this is only a meter of water, this freezes over really quickly.
Yeah.
So this is the first place where you can ice skate in the winter.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so that's really nice.
It's a nice feature for, these people living right here.
You
and
can
then
see the entrances to the
Yeah.
parking garage
Yeah.
every 100 meters.
Yeah.
Because it's a long parking garage.
Yeah.
Well, we like
Yeah.
to hide the cars in the Netherlands really well, right?
Yeah.
That's a feature.
And lots of housing on this side too.
Oh,
So
yeah, there's
all of
housing.
these people are very, very close to the train station.
Yeah, and they all have parking garages underneath those buildings as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just old quaint streets that we have. We also have new builds.
Yeah. It also kind of brings up a point too, Mark, is that with all these places and lots of plentiful parking, you kind of wonder how many of those parking spots sit empty.
Yeah, well, these people have them with their home, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a car and they use it
Yeah.
every now and then, just
Yeah.
not for every trip.
Yeah.
So here, if you now look back, if you turn around, oh wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They clean out the pond.
He is harvesting this extra grassy stuff, and you can see this little couple here, they've made a home
Yeah.
on the little thing, and I've seen that on other canals. They take a bunch of that trash and a bunch of the extra stuff and make a nest. Rather innovative those little critters are. They're like, okay,
They use plastics as well, right?
yeah, we'll make a nest right here.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, but this guy, he's bound and determined to clean it up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and see the big tall stack over there?
Yeah, that's already
There's
taken.
already a mountain of
stuff taken
this
out.
stuff. I almost called it seaweed, but it's not really seaweed. This is not the sea, but
No.
it's obviously
Yeah.
so. Well, hey, little fellows, I don't know if your home there is destined to stay, but you do have a pipe right there, so maybe that machine can't get to you.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, look how
they're
they work
helping them out.
together.
They're working together. All right,
Yeah.
here, take
What?
this. Take this here. Oh yeah, here's another good one. Oh yeah. All right, I don't need to keep narrating for the bird.
No, that's true. But here you can see some of the old industrial buildings were kept
yeah.
because that was a monumental.
Yeah.
And here you can see why we call it the Armada, because it looks like ships with
Oh right, yes.
these sails. Yeah.
The Armada of ships
Yeah.
coming in. And it looks like we have a grocery store over there.
Oh, right, yeah. The zoning laws in the Netherlands allow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can combine stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's also some bars and
Yeah.
where you can have sit. So we'll go around here and
Okay,
then you'll see
sounds
even
good.
more of that.
All right. Yep.
And this is the last building they're building, I guess.
Okay. Palazzo.
Yeah, because the
Nice.
highest court is called the Palace of Justice. So
Okay.
everything here has a name with palace. So that's the Palace Bridge.
Yeah.
I did show you that bridge, I guess. That's sort of like the High Line in New York.
Right, right.
Even has the same gardener,
Okay.
because the gardener of the High Line, the designer,
Yeah,
was a
the-
Dutchman, and they also used him here.
Okay.
So it's really similar. That's really funny.
Yeah.
And you can see we even have McDonald's here.
Oh boy. I apologize for that. On behalf
So,
of all of us, I apologize.
yeah, it's okay. You brought us civilization.
Yeah. There's a glance back at the Armada again.
Yeah.
Yes, they do look like ships coming in.
Ah, the rain.
Yep, and the rain is here too.
A little bit of rain.
And here's another look at the big pile of the stuff he's pulling out.
Yeah. And you see, in that old industrial building, we put some bars and restaurants and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Looks like there's some aliens over there.
Oh yeah, that too. And there's even a fitness studio here
Yep.
that people arrive to by bike.
Yep. Yep. Fit in 30 minutes.
Yep.
There you go.
That's actually in Dutch, right? But you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so similar.
Sometimes it's pretty darn similar.
Yeah. Oh, we're not gonna melt, are we?
No, not
Can
yet.
you still hear me?
Not this tight.
No.
Yeah.
So let's go out of this. Because that's so funny in s-HERTOGENBOSCH, the inner city, the core is on the outside of the city. So even the station is quite on the edge,
Right.
because we're already outside town now.
Right.
Oh, this was not meant to be, the rain. It can't be much. We'll just pretend it's not there.
Right.
Are we okay? We are okay. So within 3 minutes we're out of town.
Yeah.
From Central Station, from the station. Well, it's not called Central Station here. We'll go left.
And we've got our wayfinding signs here.
And the mirror, because it's a bit of a dead corner here,
Right.
where you can't see around the corner.
Well, Mark, as we're rolling through the countryside here, let's chat a little bit about your springtime excursions.
Oh yeah,
So you went to North America
seems so long ago already.
yeah. in April. Why
April.
were you there in April?
Well, the solar eclipse was on the 8th of April.
Yeah.
So we saw that in the last instant. So within 3 weeks we booked and went to America.
Yeah.
And we decided to stay
Yeah.
where the solar eclipse was, in Carmel, Indiana.
Carmel. Now, why did you choose Carmel, Indiana?
Well, that's the home base of Mr. American Fietser.
Yes.
And that was dead in the total zone.
Yeah, it was.
Totality zone.
That was a good
So that was a good combination.
coincidence there.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And we did see the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
So that part of the trip was a success.
So, your first visit to Carmel, Indiana.
Indeed.
What did
And
you
I've
think?
seen so much of it
Yeah.
by Brandon
Yeah.
on the internet that it felt familiar,
Yes.
which is always strange.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still different to experience it in real life.
Right.
To hear and smell and just sense everything.
Yeah.
in real life is always a difference.
What were you most surprised with when you got there? I mean, obviously it did seem a little familiar, but what were you most surprised with?
Well, most surprising was how familiar it looked.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
But there were also things that I was like, it wasn't everywhere. I mean, it was just the Monon Trail and some connections to it,
Right.
but it was not a full-on cycle network yet.
Right.
So there's still room for improvement.
Yeah.
But it felt what there was really nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But you tend to come back to the Monon Trail all the time.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get what Brendan says now.
Yeah.
You can't really make big tours because
Right.
you always end up in the same location.
Right.
But other than that, it was really, really great.
Yeah.
And it felt so atypical for America.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that because a lot of people, when they see some of Brandon's footage or some of the stuff that I've published from there, a lot of them are like, wow, this seems almost European.
I made I made a thumbnail and people thought it was the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But it is not.
Yeah.
It actually is the Midwest of the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is stunning that even there, I mean, it's a Republican-led, mainly white city that does not have any public transport. People kept telling me, I know that.
Right, yeah.
But so even there, because they saw the benefits, they make money of it.
Right.
And that's what Republicans are really fond of, aren't they?
Sure.
When it is good for their income.
Yeah, well, I think for all of society and for all of mankind, we have to have that balance of creating successful places.
Exactly.
And
they
that's
struck a really good balance there.
Yeah.
Especially in the city center, and they're now expanding it, and there are now two separate really good centers, but they're now connecting them, the two, so that will be one big area.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you had that experience and got to, explore around and see what that was like.
And the weather was perfect.
Yeah, the weather was good.
Everything was clean, nice. The people were happy because of the solar eclipse, maybe also, and it was extra busy because of it.
Yeah.
Because we got to see it on a Monday in full swing.
Right. Yeah. Very good. And I told you I would never forgive you for not coming to visit in Austin on that trip.
I know.
So, but I think I have forgiven you. Yeah.
Because you did not see the eclipse as well as we did.
And that's right. Yeah, we had clouds.
Because there were clouds in Texas, right?
Yeah, we had clouds for
unexpectedly,
the eclipse.
but still.
Yeah.
So we made the good choice.
Yeah, no, you definitely made the good choice. Yeah. Here, look at this in the background. We've got a person with a trainer with her whole bunch of dogs she's working with.
Training them.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about this little path that you have taken us to.
Well, this is beside a canal, and that's actually a canal to control the water levels.
Okay.
So it's not for shipping, but we're going over the bridge now.
Yeah.
And this is really, we are on the outskirts of the city, as you can see. That's all nature reserve, Natura 2000 area.
Okay.
So protected under European law.
Right. And it does look like it's working farmland too.
It is also working farmland.
Yeah.
A nature reserve doesn't mean you can't do anything with it.
Right, yeah. Which I think is a good point, because a lot of times people hear nature reserve or wilderness and they think that, you can't touch it and it can't be dealt with.
This is just off the nature reserve.
Yes,
The nature reserve itself is even better protected, but just around it, the farmers can still farm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And this is also a wetland, so and this is a dike to protect the city of s-HERTOGENBOSCH.
Okay.
But if things go wrong, they can open a shutter, and then this whole area will flood instead of the city.
Right.
So that's the trade-off then.
And I remember from our trip in 2022 that there's some history to that flooding, within the city.
This was already used in the 1600s.
Yeah.
So when the Dutch came, this was the Catholic part of the Netherlands. That was part of Spain.
Right.
At the time, and because Spain was also Catholic, the Catholics here really wanted to remain Spanish.
Right.
Spanish Netherlands.
Yeah.
But then the Dutch came and invaded.
Yeah.
And they built a dike around the city, 40 kilometers or so.
Yeah.
And then because they had flooded this whole area, the
Right.
Spanish, to protect the city.
Yeah.
But the Dutch made that dike and they pumped it clear
Yeah.
in like 2 months,
Yeah.
and then they took the city. So
Yeah.
the Dutch invaded in 1629, and the city has been Dutch ever since.
It has been
Yeah.
Dutch ever since. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fantastic.
And it's funny because at school before we learned that the Dutch liberated 's-Hertogenbosch,
Yeah.
but now the view is a little bit different. The Dutch invaded, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm from the north, so I should maybe
Yeah.
stay out of this.
Exactly. You don't want to be seen as the enemy down here.
That's true, yeah, that's true, yeah. But it's nice
Fantastic.
that the countryside is so close to the city.
Yeah. And that's the comment
Our
that you were
zoning
making.
laws
Yeah.
work that way,
Yes.
that the edge of the city is really clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have really sharp edge. The town
Yeah.
stops here and it is straight away like this.
Yeah.
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 So we don't
and
have
you
this
were
endless.
yeah, sprawl that
sprawl.
just kind of eats up
Yeah,
the
yeah.
farmland and
Yeah,
all
we
of
have
this.
these laws already for 400 years. The
Yeah.
zoning laws are very old in the Netherlands. They used to have to do with the protection of the city.
Right.
You couldn't build outside the walls because then the shooting field would be obstructed.
Right.
So these laws now make that we have a very sharp edge of the
Yeah.
town.
And that's what was really impressive too when we were looking at the pond on the top of the parking structure. We saw the housing, the dense housing that was
very
going in right there. And then you made the comment within 2 or 3 minutes we were in the countryside
Yeah,
because
from
it's
there.
that sharp. It's right on that edge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Where to next?
That way.
That way. We're going to
We're
go
going
over
to
the
go
bridge.
in the, because we're in a different town now.
Ah,
This is Vught. Yeah, this
Okay.
is just to get excess water away.
Okay.
So this is a canal for water control, for
Okay.
water management.
water management.
Yeah.
Very nice. And is this bike and pedestrian only, this bridge?
No, it's for
Okay.
cars as well.
Okay, so cars as well.
But yeah,
Very
they're
narrow.
Not so many cars.
Yeah.
Well, they have to take turns. They
Yeah.
take turns.
Yeah, yeah. Are you suggesting that people who drive cars know how to take turns?
Once you teach them,
Sometimes.
they can learn things.
Once you
Drivers
get the
can be
design
taught
right.
things.
Yeah. If the design supports it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Let's go to the right here.
Okay.
We've probably not been here yet before, right?
I have not been
No.
here, yeah.
So this is a modern circular road to the north of this town. And if it would have been designed in the 70s and 80s, they would have made it 4 lanes. But now this was designed around the turn of the century.
Right.
And you can see 1 lane for cars,
Yeah.
cycling infrastructure, and a lot of green.
Yes.
You see, even
Yeah.
trees in the median that is a meter wide.
Yeah.
So 3 feet wide median, and they plant trees on them.
And what's interesting too about this is on this side, there's no pedestrian facility. There is a sidewalk on the other side.
Forest here.
Then there's the forest over
Yeah.
there.
So you don't have to go
So-
here as a pedestrian.
Yeah.
Really
Oh,
much.
see a little trail going into the parkland right there.
Yeah.
This is very, very comfortable. I mean, this
It is, right?
This
And
is
also
what
they
I
leave-
look at.
They leave the vegetation open for the bees and the
Yes.
insects.
Yes.
But here they mow one little strip.
Yeah.
Because that's better for the overgrowing
Right.
otherwise, and
Yeah, yeah.
that you can see who's coming.
And now we open up
So
and
the
we've
rest
got
of-
some buildings on the right and
Yeah,
a
this
little
used to
playground.
be a military compound.
Okay.
So they kept a few of the buildings that were there, and they built other buildings in style.
Nice.
And it's like a park environment.
Yeah, no, and there's a playground right there that
Yeah.
we just passed for the
This
kids.
reminds me of like a like a university area in the U.S. Maybe,
Yeah.
like with the parkland and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So this is like one of the things that I keep thinking about in terms of encouraging North American cities to embrace is integrating a cycle path like this, 1 lane of traffic in either direction,
Yeah.
pedestrian facilities on at least one side,
Exactly.
and lots of trees, lots
Yeah,
of green.
Green. This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
That is one of the original buildings from the military compound.
Okay, yeah.
And you can see that the style is similar to what they built new.
Yeah, yeah. And we see some other sporting courts.
Yeah, that is a sporting facility.
Yeah, sporting facility over there.
Yeah.
And we're rolling up to
A
nice little roundabout here.
Yeah. Somebody coming the wrong way.
Yeah.
We survived.
We survived. And we can see the shark's teeth.
Yeah, this is not where
in
the poor
place.
live.
What's that?
This is not where the poor live.
Yes.
This
yeah.
is a very affluent area.
Yeah, we've got, there's the sporting fields again. The track.
Yeah. And there's also a bus stop.
Yeah. So, as part of your explorations of Carmel,
Yeah.
you saw lots of roundabouts.
I saw
so we
lots
just,
of
We just
roundabouts.
rolled through a roundabout right there.
Yeah.
What's your critique of a roundabout capital of the United States?
Well, they should make them even tighter
Yes.
because the cars can still roll through them a bit too fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The
that
design,
makes it-
the design definitely is prioritizing speed.
Still too much.
Yes.
It's already much slower. I felt right at home there because I drove there too, I must admit.
Okay, good.
And they were really good. So you really had to brake down,
Yeah.
slow down and brake.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the 2-lane roundabouts.
Right.
Because you always have that one car covers other cars
Right.
that you can't see coming.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, I'm good to go. And then whoops, there's still another one coming that you didn't see because the sight was obscured.
Right.
That's not good.
Yeah.
And also they don't have real circular cycleways around them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the cycleways sort of follow the octagon shaped
Right.
walkways.
Yeah.
And that's not really good.
Yeah. And we're rolling through another roundabout at the moment
this
here.
is a strange one because it's
Yeah.
only 3 arms.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
go
yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wanted to show you this area that's, maybe not speak window.
Yeah.
It's a bit noisy, that thing.
He's doing a little repairs on that
This is
sweeper
a much
there.
more foresty area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no,
you
this
can
is-
still have cycleways
Yeah.
on a road through the forest, why not?
And again, the street design just a little bit different here, where the two
Yeah,
lanes
there's
are
no median
coupled
now.
together.
But-
But this is still quite nice, being in an alley of trees. And we've got the forest to our right.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's quite nice. How did it feel as a pedestrian and a person on a bike navigating around those pathways with those roundabouts in Carmel?
I must admit, I didn't walk much
Okay.
because we had the bicycle.
You had the bicycle. How was
So
it on the bicycle?
It was great. Yeah,
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would go and use the part for the cars.
Right.
And sometimes we would pretend we
Yeah.
were pedestrians.
Yeah.
Depending on how many cars
because
there
over
were.
there, there's really not very many bike lanes.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are
So
actually encouraging
I sometimes had a
people on
hard time
bikes. Yeah.
distinguishing the shared bike paths
Yeah.
and the shared bike walk paths from
Yeah.
real separate
Yeah.
walkways or what is it actually? Here it's
Yeah.
always clear.
Right.
You have the red asphalt to tell you this is a cycleway, and there
Yeah.
are always signs that
Yeah.
telling you it's a cycleway.
Yeah.
But there you could sometimes be on a stretch that I thought, this looks like pedestrian space to
Right.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a conscientious bike rider here in
I
the
wouldn't
Netherlands,
want to
you
be-
don't want to be
Exactly. I didn't
being a
want to.
meanie to people who are walking.
Exactly. I didn't want to invade space that
Yeah.
was because they don't have that much space to begin with.
To begin with, yeah.
So you don't want to take it from them.
And that's where we noticed that because of the suburban context outside of that central area, it is a shared, hopefully it's a wider walkway / multi-use path. But in some cases, it's quite narrow.
Yeah, and especially in this case, on that Monday, where
Yeah.
thousands of people had come
Yeah.
to watch the solar
Yeah.
eclipse, the
Yeah.
cycleway was very busy.
Yeah,
Luckily, we were there the day after as well, and then
Okay.
we saw it as it normally would be.
yeah,
And
yeah.
most of the people walking, they went a bit to the side because they know it's a shared path.
Right.
But there were some people like, on your left! Shouting, they shouted
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
because they wanted us to warn them.
Right.
But why? In the Netherlands, you would never do that.
Yeah, you would never
ring a
shout
bell.
at somebody.
Never, ever. That would be
Yeah.
so rude.
So rude.
And
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
sort of told us that we had to do that. But
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's funny. There are little
Yeah.
cultural differences there.
Yeah.
But overall, I felt very much at home there.
Yeah.
It was really
Well,
pleasant.
we didn't plan this, but we're rolling through yet another roundabout right here.
Because they are everywhere
As
here
we're
too.
talking about that roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't really see stop signs here in the Netherlands so
No,
much.
we don't. No,
Yeah.
do stop signs so
Yeah.
much. I wanted to show you this
Yeah, this is an old railway.
in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And that usually tells you not much good. We're actually at the location of a Nazi concentration camp.
Oh, really?
One of the very few in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show you that.
Okay.
And this is like a monument.
Okay.
Because this is where the prisoners came in by train.
Yeah, by train right
First
here.
they had to walk from the station.
Right.
And then they especially built this railway.
Yeah.
It's not the original was gone.
Okay.
But once they did the station in s-HERTOGENBOSCH,
Yeah.
they had a whole lot of rails from that era.
Right, so they were able to.
It is from that era, but
Yeah.
it's from a different location.
Okay.
So they relocated it here.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And just around
Yeah.
the corner is where they have the watchtowers and everything. So
Okay, okay.
really,
Yeah.
I thought while we're here, why
Yeah,
don't we show
yeah.
that as well?
A bit of
A little bit of history.
sad legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
very much a part of the history
Of the history of the
area.
Netherlands, yeah.
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 And we do see that we've got some businesses here. We've got a nice
Yep.
outdoor patio.
Yep.
And now our cycle path has turned into a nice two-way.
Yep.
And we're on the one side.
Yep.
We still have a walking path, sidewalk,
On the
over
other
on
side.
the other side. And again, still beautiful trees, beautiful greenery through
And the
this
smell
area.
of the trees after the rain is so nice. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
This smells like summer, a summer
Yeah.
shower.
And you did say after the rain because
Well,
we
it is
were
a little bit.
It's still a little bit
We'll
left.
pretend
but
it's not there.
I'm pretending yes, it's done.
I
Yeah.
love these houses with the thatched roofs, right? It's
Yes.
so
Oh
beautiful.
yes. Yeah. I love that. That's so cool to see that, hat tip homage to the older style of roof, the thatch roof. And I'm seeing some newer homes
Yeah,
incorporating
even
that.
newly built. So
Yeah.
like that one is also not that old.
Right. Yeah.
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 But
Very
and
nice.
these people, they pay a hefty fire insurance sum.
Sure.
Because it's much more risky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they want to do that. So.
Yeah. I would hope and think that it's probably a little bit more sustainable than having an asphalt shingle roof,
Yeah.
which is what they put on in the United States
We don't
too
have
often.
those, I guess.
Thank you.
I haven't
Yeah.
ever even
Nothing
heard
like putting
about
a
it.
whole bunch of petroleum on your roof. Can you imagine how that catches fire?
Oh yeah, indeed. Yeah, yeah.
It's like, why did that house go up so fast?
Well,
Well, it
there
did
was-
have oil on the roof.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So the other part of your trip, of course, was to make it into the Big Apple.
New York City
Yeah.
and after Carmel,
Yeah.
where it was lovely and clean and sunny and attractive.
Yes.
We then
That's
went,
Carmel, yes.
Yeah, we then went to the Big Apple after a long trip.
Long
And
trip.
there was drizzle, it was cold,
Yeah.
and maintenance and the Big Apple are mutually exclusive, I would
yeah,
say.
yeah,
So yeah, it was
yeah.
quite a shocker,
Right.
the difference.
Yeah. How long has it been since you were in New York?
Now, you mean?
Yeah,
That was my first time.
Oh, that was your first
It was
time
my
in New
first
York. Oh my
time,
gosh.
yeah.
See, I had assumed you've been to Manhattan
No, I've
before.
never been to New York
Wow.
before. No, it
Because
was
you
my-
have been to North America
Oh yeah,
on
but
several trips, but
usually
never
in the
New York.
Southwest. We have friends in Phoenix, Arizona, and
Yeah.
we have friends had friends, he died now, in San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is where we usually were, in that area of the country.
See, and I thought that you were like,
No.
I know that you frequent Berlin
Okay.
on occasion, and we met up last year in Berlin.
True. After
So I had
Leipzig.
assumed that you had been to New York
No,
a few
I
times.
had not been to New York before, so this was a first.
Yeah.
And it was full of people
Yeah.
and loud, and
Yeah.
especially in the rain, everything gets louder as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So it was quite. We took a while to get used to it.
Yeah, yeah.
After a lovely Carmel.
Now you met up with our mutual friend Clarence Eckerson with
Of
Street
course,
Films.
yeah, he went out of his way to make
Yeah.
me experience New York.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Clarence.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was
And
lovely.
you guys got out on bikes
in the drizzle.
in the drizzle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost
Naturally.
wanted He said, well, should we do it? Should we do it? I'm only here once. I want to do it. We're not made of sugar, that old phrase.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what was it like riding around in New York?
Yeah. There are very good patches. Let's start with that.
Okay.
But they are patches.
Yeah.
And you have to go through, it was so different after Carmel.
Yeah.
I tried to stay positive, and there are really positive things happening there. But it's like a drop on a hot plate, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
New York's so big.
Yeah.
And so much needs to be done.
Yeah.
We're going here now, which is a terrible road, I must admit. But we are now actually in the former concentration camp.
Okay.
So this was the main road through the concentration
historic,
camp. Yeah, so they kept it as it would have been in the 1950s.
Sure, sure.
And
Yeah, so in
40s.
Carmel, you were making the point that yes, there's really the really, really good Monon Boulevard.
Yeah.
And then everything else is just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
we can navigate.
Yeah.
In New York, it's
There are
so
some
big, and there's some really, really good stuff.
There are some really, really good streets with really nice cycleways.
Yeah.
They were invaded so often by drivers.
Yeah.
So they were used as an extra parking strip. It was sometimes ridiculous. Clarence made a video, especially on the crosstown.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called exactly, but the ones that. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So many cars use them, like, oh, there's extra space for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So entitled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll pause for a second here. We are rolling through the camp, correct?
Yep.
Yep. So this has been preserved as a
This is still military area.
Okay.
On the other side, people lived there who were relocated there after the war.
Yeah.
And they felt so at home that they kept the surroundings like that.
Yeah.
People from Indonesia. But further down, there's a museum.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was huge, as you can see. And these are really the Nazi buildings that they built.
Right here is the part of that.
Very 1940s. The funny thing is, this whole area reminded the Nazis of the area in Berlin where they're from. This really has the same landscape as they felt really at home here.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is not a good thing, but I can see that because I know the area around Berlin.
In Berlin,
and it's really similar to here.
Yeah.
You can see that the military uses that area as a testing ground.
Still modern day.
Yeah.
Military ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I remember riding my bike through Berlin, or basically I rode when I met you last year.
Yeah.
I rode all the way from the new airport all the way into the city center.
You would have seen that Brandenburg landscape, which is very similar to here. Similar trees. There's a little bit of more height difference there, but
yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to New York.
Back to New York.
So
I loved cycling in New York. I must say that.
Yeah.
It was really nice because there's enough and it's connected enough to be able to cycle from A to B, I guess.
Yeah.
But the noise of the you're always near traffic, and I have not. That was something that we had in the old days, but I'm not used to it anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of an attack on your senses.
Oh. Yeah.
The noise and the
that
smog.
Was the main thing that struck me in New York. It is an attack on your senses.
Yeah.
Especially in Manhattan. And those big boulevard avenues that are one way.
Right.
I only got that after a few days. Wait a minute, they're all one way.
Right.
Why didn't I see that before?
Yeah.
But then 4 or 5 lanes going one way.
Right.
And the cycleways on the left-hand side is a bit odd for me as well.
Right.
But okay, that worked there.
Yeah.
We would not do that, but it worked there.
Yeah.
This is how they got here.
And again, this is the wagons.
Yeah. So we came through this long road.
Yeah.
Leading. So that was on the edge of the camp.
Right.
And this is where the train stopped. And here's one train, Deutsche Reichsbahn, in German. It's a replica, but still.
Right.
We get an idea of how that looked.
Yeah.
How people were transported, also the Jews, but also the political prisoners.
Right.
And
that's a good point. It was anybody who
opposed
opposed the Nazis.
Yeah, or their ideas didn't fit in.
And the history of World War II and the Netherlands, of course, is that when the Nazis turned their attention to the Netherlands,
we were so close.
Yeah, it's so close.
Yeah.
They laid siege to Rotterdam and destroyed much of Rotterdam.
Yeah, which we can still see in the street pattern today.
We can see in the street pattern today, and it's well documented how when Rotterdam rebuilt, they rebuilt on a modernistic, car-centric
American type of city.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's all tied together.
It's all
you can't see
together.
things separate from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there much damage here from the war?
In this area, not so much. There were many bombings here.
Right.
Every now and then a bomb would drop here or a plane would crash.
Right.
So yeah, there are areas in the town where you can see, okay, this is rebuilt after the war because there was damage, but not whole areas of the town, not whole neighborhoods like in Rotterdam.
Yeah, which was the whole point of the blitzkrieg that they did in Rotterdam, was to pretty much send a message that if you continue to resist, we will do this to you in all your cities. And Amsterdam was next, I think.
Utrecht was next.
Oh, Utrecht was next.
Yeah, because they first did the port.
Right.
Rotterdam was the port, and Utrecht was the railway hub. As
So
they said, okay, we will cripple you when we take out Utrecht, and you have no railways anymore because everything converges there.
Yeah.
And so Utrecht was next, and Utrecht is a beautiful historic city.
Yeah, it sure is.
Would you imagine
Can you
if
imagine?
that would all have been lost?
Yeah. So this all happened basically 20 years before you and I were born.
Just 20 years.
Yeah, because we were in the mid-1960s.
Exactly.
And so how long was the occupation? How many years?
5 years, from 40 to 45.
Wow.
My father was 10 when it started and 15 when it ended. So he knew. So I have first-hand accounts.
Right.
I heard it all the time, and my grandparents were alive. So that war was only so briefly after I was born, almost. I was born so shortly after the war that I knew a lot about it. It was always in our lives. And I said, with things like this, it's always in your face. You'll see the watchtowers later on.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about this before too, is that you really got to experience, as a young child, that transformation that was taking place in the Netherlands too, with regards to the automobile, because, pretty much the entire country, not just Rotterdam, sort of fell in love with the automobile for a little while.
We thought we had to change our whole environment for the car. And they started doing that in the 70s. I was 10 years old in 1975. I saw that. I went to high school 1976, 77. And that was 1973 was the worst years of traffic deaths. So that was still a very bad time to go cycling. So my parents took me on the safe routes and they showed me where to go, where not to go, because of the cars are dangerous. And then we saw this little change, and I experienced all these experiments in The Hague, in Tilburg, and then in Delft, where they started experimenting with cycling infrastructure. Then I saw it built, and then from the mid-1990s, we see it spreading. I mean, Amsterdam is now rebuilding all the whole stuff. They're late because they're like an oil tanker. You can't change just like that.
Right.
It takes time. And that's the same in New York, of course. Because they're so big, it takes time to change, and then you have setbacks like the congestion charge. And, people oppose change all the time. And then once it's there, we saw that in Ghent. Once they closed it, everybody said, oh, actually, that's not so bad.
Right,
Told you.
That's right, told you, And in a place where, like in New York, in Manhattan in particular, when the number of people walking on the streets far outnumbers the number of motor vehicles, and yet the number of motor vehicles dominate the space.
Especially, I had heard about Times Square, so I was, wow, they're doing things. They're taking out car space and giving it to pedestrians. I get there are signs, you cannot stand here, go, this is a flow zone, because there are so many pedestrians, and there's still that 7th Avenue with 4 lanes barging through there. Like, what's that doing here? We need space for more. We need more space for the pedestrians that are here. Cater for them. So weird for me to see that as an outsider. It's like, Why did you do your job half?
Yeah, yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is very, very tragic and sad. You know, this obviously where we're at and where we're standing here is, you know, is remembering that time and then the legacy of that war and everything, and then the falling in love with the automobile is really, you know, because we saw the same thing happen in the United States. You know, post World War II, we talk about the land use patterns and how that started to really change, and then the suburbs took off.
It also postponed the car era here, because in the US you had in the 10s and the 20s, when Ford made the cars available to everyone, you already had the cars earlier. So we only got that after the war. We had to rebuild our country first. So we see 50s we were doing that. 60s is when people get cars. 50 years after the US. And then 70s, you see, we actually
backlash,
don't have the space for that. And people could still remember what it was like to cycle everywhere. So that also the war helped us there, I guess. So it's not, there, of course, obviously the war was very bad, but in this case, it also postponed something that maybe later on was a positive. Interesting, Lena.
Keep rolling?
Yeah. We go back to the road. And now it's really close. It's a bit odd. So there's a part is a military compound, part is a residential area, and part is a high protected prison, which is here.
Okay.
where the top criminals of the country are.
Okay.
And part is a national museum.
Okay. Well,
so it's a really weird place.
Yeah.
So here's the National Museum Camp Vught. The Germans called it Herzogenbusch.
Okay.
But we call it Camp Vught.
Okay. It's not a very inspiring building, is it?
No, this is just, to show that this was built later.
Yeah.
But here we go left around the corner, on the path, and then you can see parts of the original buildings.
Yeah.
It's always breathtaking to me to know what happened here. So there's a model of the whole camp.
Yeah, I see that.
And we're just in a tiny corner of it.
Right.
This is always like, oof.
Yeah. Yep, there's the towers there.
Yep.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah. We go that way.
Okay.
And you can see this part is the museum. Obviously it wouldn't be overgrown like that.
Right.
Try to escape from that, right? This would all be under power. What do you call it? There would be a current through there. Electricity, I mean.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be deadly already.
Yeah.
Yeah, National Monument. So 43, 45, 32,000 people were kept prisoner here. And 750 were already killed here. This was not an end camp. This was just where they were rounded up, sort of, and then taken to the destruction camps.
Right. Yeah.
But still, 750 died here already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a reconstructed prisoner barracks, a crematorium is still there, and a children memorial, which you can visit. We're going that way. Back on the canal.
So, back to New York.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that you were also recruited to the war on cars.
Ah, yes. Doug showed me around on foot through a rainy Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. Brooklyn is, of course, named after the town of Breukelen near Utrecht, where I come from.
Yeah.
It's funny to be there.
Yeah.
I also visited the new Utrecht Avenue underground station.
Yeah.
And also the street called New Utrecht Avenue, which is a horrible street. But oh well, it's ugly. But
Yeah.
I noticed that as a 12-year-old that there was a New Utrecht in New York.
Yeah.
And I wanted to visit ever since. So 50 years later, almost.
Yeah, yeah.
I got there.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really great to see Brooklyn and to hear from a local. I had followed that path around Prospect Park. And all that went with
All
it.
the drama,
All
yes.
the drama there.
Yeah.
And then when you see it now,
Yeah.
I said, like, what was all the fuss about? And then Doug said that was exactly what my mother said when
Yeah.
she saw it first.
Yeah, yeah.
What was all the drama about? The cars moved 3 meters to the left.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That sums up most of what the backlash is really about, right? It's
Right.
about nothing.
It's about
come
change,
on.
and change is
People
scary.
resist change all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
We humans are curious creatures. We
are.
we
don't want change, and
Yeah.
yet everything changes
everything
all the
changes.
time.
Yeah. I think that we as humans, prefer to have agency over what change happens. We don't want to feel like it's foisted upon us.
Yeah, and
So
it's voices upon us all the time.
All the
I mean,
time,
you
yeah.
age even.
yeah,
And maybe that's why we resist it so much. We don't want to see the truth.
true.
I
Yeah.
don't know. We are getting philosophical now here.
Yeah, well, we can go, stoicism here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot change, you cannot control that
No.
which happens to
There's
you,
only one
but you
truth.
can only react.
Nothing will change. Nothing will stay the same. Everything will always change.
Yeah.
Well, when you get to our age, you get
Yeah.
to understand it better.
So, yeah, speaking about getting to our age, you and I are the same age, and we have waxed on philosophical before about change, and it's got to be pretty amazing and gratifying to you to see the level of change
Yeah.
in active mobility and creating places for people that has happened here in your own country, but then also other places taking inspiration from what the Dutch are
rewarding
doing.
to see. Yeah, it's rewarding to see. I always loved cycling, and I always wondered why more people didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because it clears your mind. It's good for your health, good for your wallet, good for everything, for nature. For
And clearly, when you say more people, you're not necessarily speaking about the Dutch, because they're
No.
cycling at quite well. You're thinking globally. Yeah.
I would love everyone to have what we have here in the Netherlands, what I have. I can live a life without a car.
Right.
I have not had any need for a car all my life.
Right.
So, and that's better for the society as a whole.
Yeah.
I do drive a car. I rent one every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But only for specific purposes.
Yeah.
Not for every single trip. And most of the trips I do on bicycle combined with trains. I crisscross the country here, no problem at all.
Yeah.
And that would be nice if more people had that. I would love for other people to have that, because it enhances your life, I think.
Right,
It makes
right.
your life better.
Yeah.
And there are pockets in the world where people have that too. Even in Carmel, Indiana,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you could live a car light life.
Yeah,
That's
which
the
is
whole
what
point.
Brandon and
You don't have to have a
Tatiana
car.
are living a car light lifestyle.
not
They don't
that
have to
you-
drive. Yeah.
We are not anti-car here.
Yeah.
There is a use for an automobile.
Right.
It's just not for all the trips.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that brings up, it's worth noting that the podcast name of the War on Cars is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because
It's of course a conversation starter.
it's a conversation starter, and it's tongue-in-cheek too, because it's making fun of past politicians and past headlines that say this is a war on cars.
Well,
it's
it's-
like,
I think
no,
it's-
you know what? It's really a war on car dependency.
Exactly. That's well said. Yeah, that's it.
We're
That's
really
it.
trying to just fight for
'Cause
more
that's-
freedom, more choice.
That's exactly what the Dutch do. We try to give
Yeah.
people more choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to walk and take the bus.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to cycle and combine it with the train. And sometimes it's really best to take the car.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
And if so many people have the ability to make a choice, And so many people do not choose the car. The ones that do depend on that car have more space.
Yeah,
so it's also good for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, you know, makes it always a little bit more curious, where people feel like we're trying to foist something upon them. Say, no, we want to give people who
Even
want the choice
for
to have the choice.
those people who choose for the car, it will also be better for them.
Yeah. Exactly.
If only they got it.
Yeah.
If only.
Let's swing the camera around here and just kind of focus on the fact that we have lighting along this pathway.
Yeah, this is not just for recreation.
This is not just for recreation. This is a meaningful path to get to destinations.
Exactly. Also in winter, because in winter it will be dark at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
And then still people need to get home from work or from school even, or studies or whatever.
Yeah.
Or their evening courses or their evening sports activities, and you need the lights.
Yeah. And the reason I focus in on that too is oftentimes in other cities, in other nations, they look at a path like this and say, oh, this is only going to be for recreation, and they don't make the critical connections.
No.
Here in the Netherlands, they really make sure that there's the connectivity to the city center, and then, as we'll see in just a moment here, you'll see the wayfinding signs so that you know exactly how far to each of the different destinations.
And the funny thing is, this looks like a shared use path, right?
Yeah.
But in the Netherlands, this is a cycleway where people may walk.
Right.
And that's the difference, because they will be on the side, because they know I'm walking on a cycleway, so I stay out of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And on a shared use path, people think, well, it's also for me, so I'm in the middle.
Right, right.
That's a different kind of
it's a little
mindset.
bit of it's a mindset,
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I always like to recommend that, you know, as people who are on bikes, if you see somebody who's a pedestrian in front of you, just be pleasant and be polite.
I would also always do that.
Yeah.
Be pleasant. That's,
Be polite, you know. Be tolerant too, you know.
Of course, but
we're all
there is
sharing
a
the space.
People here will never walk 3 or 4 abreast in the middle.
Yeah.
That would not happen here.
Well, this is very pleasant, Mark. Thanks for this little ride through nature.
Yes, I thought that would be interesting, because last time I took you through the whole town.
Yeah, we did the old town, and we made it over to another nearby village and had lunch there.
Which was still the municipality of Den Bosch.
Yeah.
We were now in a different municipality.
Yeah.
The one of Vught.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. Any final thoughts to leave the audience with here today?
Get on your bike.
Yeah, get on your bike. I like that. That's a good closing comment. Get on your bike.
Yeah, that's the Australian way of saying things.
Yeah.
Get on your bike.
That's right. Yeah.
I picked it up there, so why not?
Well, Mark, it's been an absolute joy meeting up with you down here, and
let's go down there.
we're gonna angle off of the main path here.
Yeah.
And that was the Van Gogh route.
The Van Gogh route.
The Van Gogh route.
Yeah.
That we're on.
And the Dutch pronounce it Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. Yes, here we go. We got some sports cyclists coming our way, so I'm
they're
gonna
also
duck
there.
behind. There we go. Okay. And with that, we'll say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hey, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this ride with Mark. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and share it with a friend. And if you haven't done so already, be honored to have you subscribe to the channel. Just click on that subscription button down below and ring the notification bell. And if you're enjoying this content here on the Active Towns channel, please consider supporting my efforts by becoming an Active Towns ambassador. It's easy to do. Just navigate over to activetowns.org and click on the support button at the top of the page. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna leave you here with a little bit of B-roll as we're rolling through the nature reserve. Again, thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time. This is John signing off by wishing you much activity, health, and happiness. Cheers. It's a good reminder being here this time of year compared to in 2022 when I was here in November.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good reminder to see all the wildflowers and the color.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was so
of course we
different
had
in
the
winter.
fall color, which meant we had some leaves that were colorful, but everything else was brown and dying.
And you could see further. because this does obstruct views,
Sure.
but it is nice also to be cozy together.
Yeah, no, and like you said earlier, the pollinators and the bees and being able to have the wildflowers here, it just it brings a smile to my face, you know?
We really try to mow less.
Yes.
To give those small animals a better environment, because we depend on them.
Yeah.
We now realize once they're not there anymore. I mean, when we used to drive abroad in summer in the 1970s with my parents, we drove all the way to Sweden. Every few hundred kilometers, you had to clean your front screen.
Yeah, all the insects.
Because of all the insects, and they're not there anymore. That's such a... Of course, it's more convenient for a lot of people, but they have no idea how terrible that really is.
Right, yeah.
Because those bees and those insects, they help plants.
Yeah.
They are food for
birds and everything else. And
and if they're not there, it's a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, well said.
Yeah. So when I was doing rehabilitation, well, you know where I live, so I walked here in 10 minutes. I could only walk, I could not cycle, so I was here all the time.
Yeah, I remember some of your posts.
Exactly,
from that era,
Yeah, so I walked here all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to live in the center of the town and to be able to walk out in 10 minutes and be in nature.
Yeah.
And again, sending a huge thank you out to all my Active Towns ambassadors supporting the channel on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube Super Thanks, as well as making contributions to the nonprofit and purchasing things from the Active Towns store. Every little bit adds up and it's much appreciated. Thank you all so much.